Hey guys, it's Gabriel Disciples here, and today we're going to be doing a combo video for Dragon Link. Due to popular request, I remember the last one we did is like one of the most viewed videos on the channel now from like 5-6 months ago. And it was a very similar scenario. It was like Dragon Link when Dragon Link wasn't really in the format. And yeah, so this is, for context, this will probably be released after the YCS. But it's been recorded like a week prior, so you can see the janky camera here. Sorry for the shitty camera angle, it comes from the Konami camera. Because they want you remote those setup should be on top. So yeah, this is why it's in front of my face. But since I set it up on my table, I'm like, yeah, sure, I'm just record this as well. So it's ready for Monday. Maybe we have won the tournament, maybe we have lost in top 16, but regardless, I think it's interesting content. So first, some general thoughts. Dragon Link adapted a lot during the format with the bangless changes. It's not really a combo deck anymore. It really doesn't have straightforward combos. So last time I did like one set combo with like 2 dragons, like when you get 2 LP or just 2 dragons and then some combo hands. This time we're literally just gonna do like 4 or 5 combo hands depending on how long they are, how many branches I can go through them, and explain some of my thoughts, some of my decision processes that people really seem to enjoy in the last one for some reason. So I guess we'll do it again. So yeah, just this is like the same list as the LCS one. I think the extra deck is slightly different. I also think I forgot my extra deck in the table. Yep, there you go. The logic's still the same. Hopefully, the changes that I made won't be relevant for the YCS. In the sense that, like, I think that I discovered some new stuff in the last 2 weeks, but hopefully the current list is gonna be enough on Saturday. When you are watching the video, you already know if it was good enough or not. But yeah. Also, while we're doing this, remember to subscribe to the channel, comment, like, subscribe, do the thingy, shout out to the sponsors, etc, etc. Yes. Alright, so first hand, right, Seifert, Nocto, Ash, Nib, Chaos Space. Alright. This hand is interesting. So you have Nib to pair of Space. If it's a matchup you want to pitch as Nib, you need to consider how much you respect drawing Lockbird here. I think that's relevant as well. There is also a world you don't need to use Space, which I think is what I'm gonna do with this hand. Dragon Link doesn't have a really optimal route in the sense of like, there's not like right or wrong. It depends a lot on what you're trying to play around. But let's assume this is game 1, right? This is pre-side. So you can play around draw less. So like, because like Space Pitch Nib is very bad if you get drawed, because then you won't have Nib Ash as protection. So let's go with the way that I think is the optimal to start this hand, because we're gonna go through ROM here for a router, because we need to access Tracer. You don't get to Levy. Alright, let's try this. So normal Seifert. This can check for Imperm Veiler as well. I mean, let's just assume things are resolving, right? There's no point in predicting hand traps. So yeah, we dump the Seifert for collab. Again, decision tree number 2. You can A, play around Nibiru, or B, disrespect Nibiru in this hand. Because the player on Nibiru line would be like banish this for collab, and then you make Striker, Nocto, and then you make Safer, and then you make Rom on top, and then you would get the Ravine there, and then you'd go Ravine pitch the then you would go Ravine pitch the Space, and so you make Striker Pisty here. That's one line. The other line is the safest one, which is just respecting Nib slightly more. But I don't think Nib is super main, so let's just go for the full greedy line for the first one, and then you can explain how you play around hand traps on the other lines maybe. So you can summon the call up, a Dark Dragon special summoned, you can summon Octovision. We can link those 2 off. Almost, because one of the hard things with current Dragon Link is making arrows for Pisty, because you only have one Striker Dragon and usually you need to start with it. So here you can order your chain links, probably go call up 3, Romulus 2, Nocto 1, because you don't want to draw this, and if this gets Meister, it's not that big of a deal. So yeah, we will go and search the white, the Ravine, and we'll draw 1. We would really like an Ultra Boot Sector, which is one of the downsides of this play, but it should be 1 in 34, 33? 32. Only 32 for boot sector. Right, not space. It's a blank. So okay. So from here, one of the cool things you can do with chaos space is that you don't need to resolve chaos space to get value of it. So yeah, so we go ravine, pitch the extra space. I mean, with pitch space we didn't draw space as well. It's just because now we can also use this if we get to another light. But a lot of the times you don't actually have to activate space to get a grave effect, because space is very weak into Ash and into draw, mainly draw. But again, we're not playing, we're respecting head trap, so I don't think that's exactly relevant here. So yeah, so this happens, then we go black into white, then we space the call up, we draw one. Oh, I drew it actually last time as well. That's funny. Yeah, so this happens, we make striker, we trigger Wyvern's choose, so we get a black, and we do get field spell, boot sector. Okay, we then will go boot, we'll boot for tracer, we'll tracer for pisty, and then here is where things get slightly interesting. We'll pisty the tracer back, because this is our only way to access tracer, as we normally summoned already, and we don't have recharge and grace, so we just summon this tracer back. This pisty basically is a free monster that allows us to make roam for no cost. Because what happens here, right? Like if I made striker first, I wouldn't have this pisty, so I would have to commit those two into seal, and this tracer would have one less monster. So this is what this pisty does. It's not that much. If you had another way to get the tracer, we could get the safer back, which is interesting if our ruler hits Livy, for example. But here is, yeah, it's just like it's just an extender. It gets an extra dark into the graveyard as well for the possible Lavinier and the seal. Lavinier and the ruler. So yeah, I'll just make seal, make it here. Zones don't really matter nowadays. Then we will tracer pop here. One of the things I think people really overlook with Dragon Link is how broken of a card Chaos Ruler is. This deck is literally Chaos Ruler Turbo. Savage is like after Ruler. If you have the option between making just Savage or just Ruler, I think Ruler is actually just correct. Because you play so many light and dark hand traps, Ruler generates follow-up, Ruler with like 2 bodies. And with IP, you can justify making Ruler a lot more, which is pretty nice. So yeah, we will make the guy, the main man himself. Let's see what Ruler hits this time, because last time it was kind of shit. It didn't matter, like anything is decent because our hands are very, very good. But we can just rotate it, I guess. So we go Ruler effect, Safer, the Nocto, a quick launch, a Router, not Tidy. I mean, none of this really matter. We already use Router, we already use Safer. Yeah, Safer is better in a sense than the other one. I'll get Safer to the hand. We got a Tiding Grave, which is, I guess, okay if we can ever mill a Chamber. Or like Safer for Chamber and then summon the Chamber from hand. So yeah, from here, what's the line? I think we'll go Space Pitch Safer. Just search Lavinier. Then we can summon the Levy by banishing 3 darks, so Router. You need to keep the rockets in grave for Quad Burrow, that's relevant. Pist is an okay keep as well. This deck, weirdly enough, kind of runs out of links for Savage, so it's also relevant to keep track if you have a link. But this time we will have. You want to keep one Nocto for Chamber Tiding, but here it's or the Router or the Nocto, probably just the Nocto, because we don't have Tiding anyway. So we spin a card from their hand. We'll go those two. We'll go into the IP, which is a new addition and makes the end parts very nice. Here. Then we can go safer because we milled it, right? So we can save, try this Livy back. So yeah, another piece of follow-up. We can go Striker Dragon into the Recharger, and then we can Recharger, target the Striker Dragon, just summon back the Tracer, or the Recharger, it doesn't really matter. And then you can go Ruler, banishing a light and a dark. again, here, this is the relevant one. You want to banish the Striker Dragon because you want to put it back with space. So every time possible, you want to try to get the Striker Dragon banished, as it's the best way to recycle it is space. I mean, the only real way, other than seal pulse it. So we can summon this back, this gets banished, this gets thinked off. We summon Quad. We Quad, probably pitch this Black Dragon or the Ash. Let's pitch the Ash for convenience sake. Summon the Tracer and summon the Recharger back, and then from here we can just link those two into a Savage. The Savage will equip the Romulus, so this gains 2 counters, and yeah, then we pass on this. So we have a Spawn Trap Negate, we have a C, we have an IP. This IP can go into Unicorn or into Apple. I'm not playing Apple for the YCS, I'm playing it after, so you can go into either of those. This is very good against Tritron. This is better to try and stuff. So what happens here usually is that this seal floats into a chamber, which in part gets you the Tidy, and then when you make Unicorn with those two, you will go Unicorn, you will pitch the Tidy. I mean, here it's not that relevant because we already had another one, but assuming we didn't mill this one, right? You then next turn have Tiding for Chamber and Chamber for the Tiding, and then this is already like access code, so it puts in pressure because the deck has a hard time killing turn 3 because a lot of the times you're missing Striker Dragon. So the way old Dragon Link killed a lot was Striker Dragon for RMD, sorry, Striker Dragon for Recharge, Recharge RMD, RMD for anything, beat. Now we don't have that. So access code and Unicorn help killing people. It's pretty nice, and the IP giving access, the IP justifies making Chaos Ruler basically, and Chaos Ruler is like insane. It generates so much for this deck, just as a body, and from the follow-up, being able to fetch a hand trap. It's better than Savage on average. Most of the time, yeah, you just make Ruler. So yeah, that was a hand. I'm slightly tired because I did it twice. Hopefully, OBS doesn't bail on me again. What else? I said something smart on the other version that the OBS cut. What was it? I don't remember. Maybe it will come up again. But yeah, that play was very bad into Nib. I want you to keep note of that. This deck can play around Nib, usually by committing last cards. So let's say this is now going first both side, right? Like, it's not this deck that you'd have going first both side, but ideally, like in a scenario, you think it's more likely your opponent has hand traps and your opponent has like Nib. You need to respect draw and etc. Okay. So we open space, Nocto, Ravine, Seyfert space. Okay, there are ways to play this hand. It's an interesting hand. Alright, so the space would pitch this. Ideally, the best way to play around draw is understand like, what do I do if I get drawed? This hand doesn't have an easy way to play to draw, in the sense that regardless where you get draw, it's gonna hurt very badly, so I think you just hope they don't have it. You'll make seal pass to draw anyway, and you just hope that carries you. So the best way to play through the other hand traps here, like Ash, if you go Nocto, pitch, space pitch Nocto, that probably gets Ash, so you can almost safer than get the Wave Dragon. So let's say, yeah, we go Nocto, you would go space pitch Nocto, I feel. Check for the Ash. Did get Ash, okay. We can do one like against specific hand traps later if you're interested, and it's just hard to do it like free flowing. So I'm just gonna explain like the major choke points in my opinion. So now we can banish this Nocto Vision for this guy. Here, important thing, I would most of the time go Striker Dragon Shielding 2. Reason being, the only thing that interacts with Striker if you put in Shielding 2 is Gamma. I don't think Gamma is that common for starters. Second, I don't think it's a good thing to Gamma Striker Dragon, so if they want to Gamma Striker Dragon, feel free. And it protects this Wyvern Buster from Schoolmeister, which is a card that's not very good against Dragon Link, and you don't want to give your opponent value for their bad cards, because they probably will side it in, because it's a hand trap against dragons. So yeah, you'd go Striker Shielding 2. This will allow us to get to the boot, and we can get to the pull-up. This is an interesting hand, to say the least. So then we can banish the white to some of the black, we can go space, put this back, and draw one. Okay, actually pretty good draw, because it's a defense. The way dragons beat Nibiru is by generating value that Nibiru doesn't do enough. So the main thing that basically are like, okay, I am generating as much value as I possibly can, so if I get Nibiru, I get like 5, 6, 7 cards, and then I draw into hand traps, I order for a hand trap, I floating, you make a savage, and you scramble into a playable board post-nip, which is hard. I think is one of the main skills of this deck is resource management, because you don't win on the first turn anymore, so you gotta manage your deck is more flawed to hand traps, because LP was a big choke point, because they had to enable you on LP, but now they can hold the nib way longer, so you gotta understand what you gotta do to force this nib, which usually is Chaos Ruler. Usually threatening Chaos Ruler is the best way to force the nib, and then how you play through it. So yeah, we're gonna summon the seal, which is, I mean, already a protection for nib in a way, because we can just float into a chamber if that happens. And then we can go safer, normal summon. The good thing, I mean, should be known by now, but Seyfert Baby Dragon is very strong. Seyfert Chaos Space is good because you can normal Seyfert, send the extra baby to search the tracer. And then, okay, so here we'll go boot. So I mean, look at this hand, like you can see, like this actually is relevant for now. This is a pair, and this is a pair. One could argue, why don't Ravine pitch space and then send router, search synchron? That's very weak into nib, because then you're gonna boot sector all of them, and you're gonna like get nibbed and lose a lot. But if we hold this, we can float into chamber and then Ravine for Levy and use the safer to get Levy back, which is what I'm gonna do later in the combo. So here we can go boot. We will boot for tracer. You can ask for response here, because this threatens Chaos Ruler by itself. So people might nib you here, which is very good for you, because if they nib you here, you didn't waste the tracer effect. Just ask for response. And then here you threaten Chaos Ruler, nothing happened. So now you tracer pop boot, because we need to get the synchron in circulation to make the hot red. We're gonna make a very similar board from last time. So this happens. We will then make Chaos Ruler with our Seyfert and our Tracer. We'll go Ruler effects. Pray. Okay. Sometimes Chaos Ruler just really likes you. I mean, I was gonna the Ravine dump for the Levy, but life was graceful enough to give a Levy anyway. I think the correct play is probably just getting this Noctovision. It's a shame we didn't hit Tidy. I mean, I can complain about it, let's be real. But yeah, I think this is fine. If we get the Nocto, yeah. Because then we can just save it for this, and this makes IP, so we can have another draw. So yeah, we do those. We will then go Seyfert for the 11 here. Best play probably is to just make hot red here in case they're holding imperm for Levy or some dumb thing like that. This is also easier to revive. Then you can go chilling one Levy, chilling to the guy. So again, see, always banishing the Striker Dragon and wanting to keep the rockets in circulation. Here you will not be able to keep both rockets. So we will have to banish one of them off. I'll be honest, it's more likely we need this tracer than we need the synchron. So we just banish the synchron. I don't think we're making quad anyway, so it shouldn't matter. So yeah, we are gonna Levy loop 1, then we go Nocto effect, choose special summon here. We will link those two off into the IP, which allows us to draw one. So yeah, we'll draw Tiding, that's very good actually. Do we want to commit more? Let's commit more, it's funny. At this point, like, you know they're not getting hand trapped, right? Like, a lot has happened. So we can just go We can just go for fun. This is a... No, we can get this. We can get this back. I guess the best play would just be go activate Ravine, Ravine dump Tiding, Tiding for the chamber, chamber for the Tiding, yeah, Tiding for the chamber, chamber for the Tiding. Post side you'd have 3 chews, so you can be more liberal with this kind of plays. If this is pre-side and you only had 1 chew, there's a world you just set a Tiding and pass, but I like getting this in circulation. You can just Ravine for router next turn anyway, pitch the space. So with get this, we can set 1 and we pass. So again, like a hand trap, this is go back hand. The seal, this, and this hot red, not savage, but they're almost the same card. We would have the Tiding this time, which is pretty nice, as an extra layer. And in the grave, we will have the ruler to come back as follow-up. We'll have another sacred for Lavi. We'll have the space that we're gonna pitch next turn. We have whatever this heretic suit summons. And yeah, that's a lot of follow-up. And I think one of the things that this board was pretty resilient to most hand traps. Our hand was a bit weak to draw, I'll be honest. But other than draw, like into most of the other hand traps, like Nebut generated so much follow already. Imperms, Veilers, they don't trade well into this deck because you keep the bodies, which is one of the main strengths on Dragon Link in my opinion. Is that like your opponent wastes cards and you just keep cards. They imperm stuff, they Veiler stuff, and you just keep making seal, you keep generating. You won't end on this board, but you get to a point that you have more cards than them. You are playing like card advantage. Especially against a combo deck, a lot of people just like be cool for everything. But this deck, it's easier to break Dragon Link than it is to prevent Dragon Link from play. Seal is kind of inevitable. Alright, so let's just do a third one. No cuts. Except that weird one, because OBS stopped working. You can see I'm not bullshitting my way through this. This is literally just me sitting and doing hands. No editing, no marked hands, we're just shuffling and doing hands. There is always a possibility I just break. It's kind of late when I'm recording this. I just had the idea because the setup was already here. I'm like, yeah, sure, let's just do it. Okay. Alright. Alright, let's go. So, Tiding, Ash, Levy, Space, Tracer. Alright, this is a subpar hand. This is... I mean, it's not subpar. You have one decision. First off, the 2 cards are irrelevant, so you look at this hand, you have this, this, and this. You need to think, what am I discarding for space? Banishing Levy in here is not nice. No one likes to banish Levy. But you also gotta understand that if you go space pitch tracer, you got Ash to pass. So you can't be greedy here. You gotta like respect cards. So the best play is definitely just space pitch this. And like if this got Ash, you could normal the tracer, made ruler, then you'd have like a Levy in hand, you'd have the and you had like the big possibility of like hitting a Seyfert or hitting a baby dragon. You have a space in this. Like any good extender that you hit could like let you keep playing. So, but again, let's assume it resolves. So this will get us white. Yeah, so go white, banish this Levy. It's very sad. We could, if you really want to choose, paste the Levy back. But if it's not a matchup that requires Levy, I think I would rather just get the extra baby dragon still. But yeah. And we'll go... as I said before, Striker Chew as amplified after, because I just want to respect Skullmeister. So this Chew, we will banish the white, just summon the black. And yeah, here you decide if you space for Levy or space for white. Space for Levy gives you more sealing, space for white gives you card advantage. It depends on the matchup, depends on the scenario. If it's like Tri-Brigade Zoo, we probably would go for this. If it's like, you know, Solomon Great, would go for this. It depends. Let's just go for white for convenience sake. Being out of Levy is not that deep. Yeah, let's go. Nib's a good draw. And then here you have a decision tree. We didn't normal summon yet, which is good. We are on summon 3 now. So you can do what's called a pre-link to Chaos Ruler, which is making an early Chaos Ruler, which makes your life very good if you manage to get it done. It's a weird one because it's not very straightforward. It really depends on what you can extend. It's usually worth it if you can save your boot sector or if you can save your normal summon for after the Chaos Ruler. So usually if you A, did a normal if you a normal summon but you had quick launch, or B, you did a normal summon and you have these. So yeah, this is what's gonna happen here. We're gonna boot for this and we're gonna make Chaos Ruler on 5, and we get to chain block this Chaos Ruler with the black. So this, like, if this gets imperm, for example, it's like super fine. You really don't care. If this gets imperm, like, combo him so hard. And if it doesn't, you get to resolve Chaos Ruler, which is always nice. So we'll go white 2, we'll get the thing. And then we will resolve Chaos Ruler, everyone's favorite Yu-Gi-Oh card, once again. All vibes. Tiding, Chamber would be a good hit, Router is a good hit. I'll take Veiler. Anything realistically. Okay, Veiler, Synchron, Router, Veiler, Router. Yeah, that's very good. We'll take an effect Veiler and we'll go up Router effect. This Router will pick up Rocket Synchron, as that is a very good normal summon when we didn't normal summon yet and we can already play. So this is happening for sure. So that this, and we can. Okay, so what do we do from here? We did a normal. Oh, cool play, right? In case we didn't hit this Synchron, just the Router, right? And we still want to get the Veiler, you can go Striker, pop the Ruler to get this Synchron back, and then you summon the Ruler back to make the Romulus. But since we hit the Router, we don't need that. But just so you can remember, because that's important play. We'll link those two into the Romulus. So you might be asking, why are we doing Romulus here? I think this Romulus is worth it because we are getting the chamber in circulation. We're gonna dump the tiding for the chamber, which means that we'll have a chamber already in circulation so we can still float for something else. It also makes our life better if we get Nibiru, because we don't have to float into this chamber. So yeah, we'll banish this, should go for the chamber will trigger. This is pretty weak into Bell, but this hand is in the kind of scenario, like if you get Bell, you're probably so ahead here that you don't really care. So yeah, we will get this tiding, we will link those two off into the Heretic Seal. So now you are free to Dark Lock yourself, which is very nice. So first step of being Dark Locked, we're not gonna normal some of the Synchron, we're gonna go Synchron effect. We can bring anything back. I mean anything, a Ruler or a Router, doesn't really matter because we're gonna link both of them into quad. Then we can quad pitch the extra white. Could do a nicer play. I mean, could do Pisty, but then this Pisty doesn't do anything. Yeah, it doesn't matter. We could Pist if we really wanted to, by like summoning Ruler first and then now making Pisty with the chamber, now making quad. But the Pisty just vibes there. It doesn't help you extend into anything. So we'll quad. We can quad for the this and this, and then yeah, then we can go Tracer and the Ravine to go for the Recharger. And then those two will go for Savage. So this one's better because it's a wind. And then you go Ruler effect, finishing the Light and the Dark. Again, Striker Dragon. Remember it. So those two. This happens. You go for the Hot Rod. You set a tiding and you have Ashnip Veiler with Savage Hot Red Seal. You don't get a hand loop, we have a tiding grave, we can still float into any the good target. I don't have a lot of very good targets, but you can still float into another Tracer or an Octo or a Safer with no heavy, but if you hit a space at some point. But this should be unbreakable for most decks. and yeah, then you get the tiding for chamber follow-up as well. The other option was just not going for ravine. You can do this exact same play, but then you won't have this chamber. You have one more tiding deck. You will have this chamber in deck. You have this ravine in hand, and you have the just that, because the tiding will be in hand. So you do the same play, but you keep ravine in hand. Potato, it depends on the matchup, depends on a lot. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is not as simple as just sandboxing your way through. I also think all the hands we did had Chaos Space, now that I look at it. But you can do a lot of hands without Space. Space just makes life easier because it's the best starter in the deck. As you can see, it also wasn't edited. I literally just shuffled hands and did it. So yeah, I hope this wasn't too long. It probably should be like around 30 something minutes. I hope you enjoyed and it was helpful. Let me know if you want any more specific Dragon Link stuff. I've been playing this for a while, I just couldn't show it because, you know, the YCS. Hopefully it goes well this weekend, I'm excited for it. And yeah, that's Disciples, see you next time.